All right. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today on ServiceNow. I'm Joe Steiner, Solution Architect here at Concurrency, and I have the pleasure of introducing Bryan Schrippe, who's our technical lead for our ServiceNow platform offerings. ServiceNow provides a lot of value for our customers in terms of automating various workflows, handling some of the IT operational aspects of running things, as we're working with clients trying to kind of build that future state. And maybe that involves AI, maybe it doesn't quite yet. Handling the operations behind the scenes and running the environment is so important to be able to have that happen seamlessly so you can focus on some of the next stage things that you're working on. So what we wanted to do today is share with you some of the things that Bryan has been doing with customers for a long time now in terms of unlocking the potential within ServiceNow. ServiceNow can do a lot of core things, but there's a lot of other things you can do with that maybe not everybody's aware of. And as a Microsoft partner, we do a lot of things with combining and marrying the Microsoft and ServiceNow platforms together. So we've done a lot of work in this space, and just wanted to share you some of those insights that Bryan has seen over time with the work he's done with customers. So without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Bryan Schrippe and let him share his wisdom. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, again, like Joe said, thanks everybody for joining. I'm excited about this session because instead of talking about ServiceNow in the abstract and just focusing on a PowerPoint presentation, I actually want to spend the majority of my time in the platform and showing you what the new breed of IT operations runs like on a modern quasi-unified system. So what I'm hoping is by the end of the hour that you guys will have a clear picture of what's possible and what real impact looks like for your IT teams. So like Joe said, my name is Bryan Schrippe. I'm the lead technical architect for the entire ServiceNow practice at Concurrency. I have a little over 2 decades of experience in the IT operations and help desk space with a focus on ITSM platform deployments and automation, with a focus on ITSM, ITOM, and SecOps and automation. So we've done over 150 deployments of ServiceNow Core, in addition to multitudes of different platform and module deployments over the 10 years I've been working in the platform. But what I want to show is kind of the direction that ServiceNow is going, and more specifically, what works, what doesn't work, and where real ROI comes from when you make investments in the platform. So everything that I'm going to show you kind of stems from what I've seen, and the demos that I've built are a reflection of things that I've kind of seen in other customers' environments that I'm going to share with you guys. So I don't want to treat this as like a product brochure for ServiceNow. I want to treat it like as if you were in an IT operations scenario and you got to see it from both the end user and from the analyst perspective. So what are we going to learn today? How IT operations is being streamlined with its full integration in the ServiceNow ecosystem, and how ServiceNow automates workflows and processes to simplify your interactions with your end users, and how analysts interact with the architecture itself. You'll see how the platform gives you actionable visibility. So not just looking at data and lists in a database, or looking at an Excel spreadsheet, or focusing on an inbox, looking at emails, but you can see what's going on across your entire IT environment. And third, you're going to see all of this live in tool. So I don't want to show you just screenshots or mock-ups. I want to show you a real ServiceNow environment running ServiceNow with what's out there today that, depending on your licensing, you can get access to and make real world investments in. So here's our agenda. We're going to take a look at IT challenges today, what people are seeing in almost every organization that I've worked with, And then we're going to jump into some demo blocks, right? So the first is going to be what the self-service experience is with not only the refreshed portal front end, but also its interaction with virtual agent and its enhanced interaction with artificial intelligence as it relates to ServiceNow. Second is going to be the agent workspace and how the agents now can benefit from ServiceNow's investments into the AI ecosystem and how it can also affect your visibility into your environment, maybe the services you provide. And then third, we're going to talk about dashboards, reporting, visibility, new enhancements that ServiceNow is making into the flexibility of how you can do reporting and dashboarding and performance analytics. And then I'm going to talk about the AI roadmap and where we're seeing ServiceNow heading. And then I'm going to wrap up with takeaways and some Q&A. So what's the IT Ops challenge? I kind of want to talk about what I see in almost every IT organization that I work with, regardless of the size or industry that you're a part of, right? Like these are ubiquitous across every single client that I've worked with in the past 10 years. And I consistently see it. So this is not something that's going away, but every single client that I've worked with has dealt with one of these areas, right? So this slide probably is going to look familiar to a lot of people. On the left side, we have operational pain points, right? So your teams are juggling 5-10 different tools with no source of truth. A lot of platforms that I've dealt with, all tickets are routed through email, right? Or they come in through a Slack channel or phone calls. And a small percentage of them are being funneled through a portal mechanism or its interaction with where the customer may sit. Maybe they live in Teams all day and they don't have a way to just interact with your ITSM platform where they are. Slowness, right? So by way of all these different disparate mechanisms, it may take a while to get things handled or things put into the system, or you're dropping where things have happened in the environment, but people aren't putting tickets because it's slow or it's difficult and it's not easy. It's not automated. When something escalates, there's not a clear trail of what happened or why. On the right side, we have leadership's pain points, right? A lot of times leadership's flying blind. They can't answer basic questions because they don't have the information at their fingertips. Granted, this has gotten exponentially better over the past, I'd say 4 years, right? All these platforms are making real investments in reporting and dashboarding and analytics. And now with the advent of AI, funneling all that stuff to get real world answers. But I still find clients that are generating reports with Excel and doing this manually and not leveraging the tools that ServiceNow can provide to help them execute reporting and analytics at scale to give their leadership insights. Take a look at service delivery, right? Who's picking up the ticket? How are they picking up the ticket? How are those SLAs being generated? How are they being met? ServiceNow can help with all of this. So I don't want to just tell you, kind of want to show you. So let's take a look. I'm going to stop this and then I'm going to pull up my demo environment and then we're going to start talking about this in a context of a particular scenario that I had with one of my customers and one of their services that had an issue. So let me stop this and give me 1 second. And then Joe, I'm going to ask you to confirm that you can see what I'm seeing here.
I can see your screen.
Wonderful. Okay. So the first area that I want to talk about is where every IT interaction begins, right? And the most successful IT operations platforms that I've been working against have effectively stopped email, right? They don't intake their interactions with end users via email. They've effectively stopped the inbox and have forced all of their interactions through either 3 channels, right? So they're either doing it through chat interactions through either a Slack or Teams integration, right? They're doing it through phone with a ServiceNow Notify plugin and direct integration into their call center, or they're funneling everybody into the portal, right? So ServiceNow can help with all of those different things, right? There's a native Teams integration where you can integrate directly into your portal front end and people can go from Teams into your portal, or they can do chat interactions with teams if you have virtual agent, or they can go directly here to the portal. And what you're looking at here is a pretty vanilla out of the box portal. It has, I would call it a consumer grade experience, right? It can be enhanced in and above what you see here with custom iconography and custom widgets and all this fun stuff. But if you just needed to get up and running, this is effectively what you would see. And dependent on what you are providing your end users via services, you would build this as what you're giving your end users. So we can take a look here at like what all of our technology services are, right? And we have various different areas that we provide for different technology sectors. And if I wanted to just take a look at something, I could either navigate manually right here and say, hey, I'm looking at something for a computer. Ooh, I want a new MacBook, right? That's kind of the old mechanism to do it. Now, if I go back, I can say, hey, I want a MacBook. More like the Google type experience, right? Now, with the power of AI, it is going to analyze what I'm looking at and try to suggest for me the correct path of action in order for me to facilitate that request. So it will analyze, and now it says, hey, oh, a JavaScript error. That's okay. So it says now, hey, I see you're looking for a MacBook. Here's the most relevant searches that meet your requirement. In addition, I'm also going to surface other things that may have relevance to your query, right? So I can go right from here and request a laptop. But there's also a third way. A lot of times we're seeing people do chat-based interactions, right? So that is provided by something called Virtual Agent. And Virtual Agent out of the box comes with a bunch of default interactions. So I can come back here and see that, hey, I'm looking for a new laptop. And this isn't them talking to an agent. This isn't them talking to somebody on the back end. It's going to go and look and use Agent Assist and Now Assist to effectively look at what options I have available to me. So it says here's what I can do for you. Do you need a development PC? Do you need a laptop? Do you need a MacBook? What are we looking for? And then I can start the request from here. Conversely, you can also do this from a Teams experience, right? You can do these same interactions, but via a different mechanism. So if the majority of your user base is sitting in Teams all day and they're having Teams interactions or they're having Slack interactions, these same experiences can be held in those environments as well. So this is surfacing the things that they need when they need them. And then I can either do two things. I can go directly to the request, or I can have the agent help facilitate that request for me, right? So I can do effectively two different actions in order to do this. So I can come here, I can fill out the request and say order now. And it also provides me sources. And if I have a particular query, I can ask questions, I can do call and response activities, things like that. So you see there's power in the fact that if you have a standardized service offering, or even if you haven't had those conversations about what services do we offer as an IT organization, putting these frameworks in place so you can start standardizing some of this stuff only enables AI to functionally direct people in a more expedient fashion, right? So this is self-service that actually works, right? Employees are getting answers that they immediately are looking for, and your service desk volume drops because they're not going to actual people to handle those queries. They're being surfaced, at least triaged on the front end. And it also gives them a variety of different experiences, no matter how you want to interact with the platform. So, I've noticed a lot of younger users of ServiceNow like chat interactions. Some of our middle-aged end users, they like using just a website and clicking in and doing things. And then we have our older users that just love to phone call in all the time. Like it's a trend that I've noticed all over multiple different customers. So what does that look like when we go into the agent experience? So somebody submits something and it comes in. So let's talk about that. So this is your agent workspace. So ServiceNow has converted a lot of different areas of the platform into various different workspaces. This is called the Service Operations Workspace. So this is for your IT help desk teams This is the area that they would go in order to look at all of their information, come and look at all of the changes, incidents, service requests, things like that. And you can see that it is a lot different than the old way of doing things inside of ServiceNow, where every single ticket becomes its own thing, an own window. And next thing you know, you have tabs spread and you've got 90 different tabs. Anybody who's been in ServiceNow over the past 10 years can attest to that nightmare scenario. But what they've done is they've refreshed this experience into a new workspace where IT teams can collectively just organize themselves and have given them a new way to interact with their end users. So this is a single pane of glass experience, right? So you can see here, I've got everything that I have access to as an IT analyst. I can see all of my interactions. I can see all of my incidents, problems, changes, things like that. There's no more need to bounce between different areas of the tool and do searching for incidents or problems or changes in various lists. It's all aggregated here, and agents can see their assigned work, the different teams. But let's talk about how it would surface itself in a scenario where something detrimental happens and it's impacting a core service that is financially important to the business, right? So this is what an incident experience would look like in the context of in this instance, an SAP load balancer is failing over and they're having transaction issues. So we can see that this has been added as a P1. It's critical, right? This is an extremely important incident, but I don't want to look at all of this and try to get an understanding. So I can click here and have it summarize the entire incident for me. This is now assist in action. So this is leveraging ServiceNow's internal LLMs in order to summarize this incident and give me real-time insights. So imagine if this was 100 lines of activity long. It's bounced through 8 or 10 different people. This gives me real information about what happened to that particular event over time, and then lets me know what key actions have been taken, right? But it doesn't just stop there. So I can also see what impact this has. So this is tied to not only my CMDB, which surfaces all of my CIs, but it can also work with ServiceNow's ITOM platform and service mapping by association and show me what this configuration item impacts as it relates to the service. So I can come here and I can take a look at my service and instantly open up a dependency map to see what is all directly tied to that particular server. So I can see that, ooh, this load balancer is tied to all these web servers and it has a direct impact on these services, human resources and financial accounting. So, ooh, we better get on that and take a look. So in addition to that, we also have the full activity stream. So the activity for all of this is all housed inside the ticket itself. So just like ServiceNow in the back end, underneath the hood, all activity, it has a full audit trail of everything that's happened to this ticket. So every assignment, every communication, everything's all in one place. So you can see that like SolarWinds, monitor the alert, SSH investigation, found an expired cert, and the resolutions where the cert was renewed, right? An agent picking this up doesn't necessarily have to ask what's been done so far. It's all here and we can surface it. So I can take ownership of this right now. So I can put in, you just see the caller, Joe employee, assigned to me. So it tells me what I have. And then you can see here, that gets automatically assigned to the activity stream. And I can see different information about whoever the caller is, right? What recent incidents they have, what recent interactions they've had, what assets are assigned to them, if I need that information. ServiceNow also takes it one step further. And there's a new piece of tooling from ServiceNow called Agent Assist. So what Agent Assist does is the platform sort of helps me try to understand information coming from the description and then goes and searches my entire knowledge repository. And ServiceNow has also implemented a new type of connector where you can actually connect your knowledge repository to external SharePoint knowledge repositories and have it search entire SharePoint repos of knowledge to pull back anything that might be relevant to my particular query. So we can see if there's any sort of relevant KB articles that might associate, and then directly apply them to the ticket. So we can attach, we can flag, we can mark it as helpful. But if we needed to attach it, we could attach it directly to our ticket, and that can be surfaced to the end user if it was like an end user issue, or maybe we have a playbook or something that is directly correlated to having a load balancer failover incident. We can have that get checked right here and attached to our ticket. Or if there's old tickets for load balancer issues that already have default root causes applied to them, or if they have closure information that we've leveraged to fix the same issue, we can copy that same information over here. So we don't have to go to 5, 10, 12 different spots to try to find, oh, I think this pocket of knowledge is over here, or this fixed document is over here. We can aggregate all of this information through AI backend search sources and surfacing semantic search through Agent Assist. And if this Agent Assist query didn't give me what I need, I could put in here, I can put in here cert renewal and see if there's anything in here that is relevant to that. And it would search my entire knowledge repository for any information about cert renewal or any closed tickets about certification renewals across my entire knowledge ecosystem. So it gives you a lot of power in research and being able to understand what is going on from a service perspective, what can be impacted if a particular CI upstream and downstream is having an effect. All of this inside of one unified workspace, powered by Now Assist and ServiceNow's AI infrastructure. So go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
And I think the answer to this, I know the answer to this question is yes. Just wanted to call out that we did have a question in the chat about our organizations integrating their ServiceNow instances with other cloud platforms to either automatically create incidents, route tickets, or initiating self-healing workflows. So I just wanted to call out that question's out there. You might be touching on this a little bit later, but just wanted to give you an opportunity to address.
Yeah, so that's actually a perfect segue into what we are going to talk about next, and that is two things: automating repetitive work and integrations, right? So ServiceNow, if anybody's ever seen, they used to have an older automation engine called Workflow that has now transitioned into something called Flow Designer. And Flow Designer is effectively a low-code, no-code mechanism of doing business process automation. But ServiceNow takes it one layer further in the fact that you can also have integrations into other platforms. So to the person that asked the question, we can integrate, again, depending on your Flow Designer licensing, right? So there is a basic Flow Designer license where you can just do business process automation. Then there is an enhanced Flow Designer license that gives you access to 140 something integrations into other platforms. So let's say you were working in Jira Service Management, right? Or Jira DevOps. There is capabilities there that allow you to connect into those infrastructures, and by nature of a webhook or REST API command, trigger flows, something like this, like an application intake request. You can trigger flows to have it either A, create tickets inside of ServiceNow, which can in turn trigger other flows to do assisted remediation if a known fix has a repetitive nature to it, right? So let's say you consistently know that X server has an issue and it requires X, Y, and Z to fix, and it's a known issue, right? You can trigger that through a tertiary system, something like, maybe a logic monitor integration through something like event management, or if you needed to push a Jira CI/CD pipeline and that needed to do X, Y, and Z in maybe your Azure infrastructure, you can use the integrations through mechanisms like Jira and the Azure integration to do things like that in a low code, no code situation to effectively drive that business process automation. And then either you can do repetitive assisted operations in your environment, but they have to be repetitive, right? So you can do AI assisted healing, event generation, all dependent on where you have integrations. But the amount of integrations that ServiceNow gives you access to, in addition to some of the enhanced AI capabilities that ServiceNow is now coming out with, a lot of that, automated healing and, event-driven automated self-diagnosis and healing, all of that is starting to become really possible with what ServiceNow is effectively bringing to the table, specific to integrations that they've been able to provide with all of the various vendors that they're working with for assisted automation, which is pretty cool. So each of these steps is effectively a branch, right? So it's really easy to do automations. So you fill in some of the information that you can get from data from other areas of the flow, and it just goes boom. If you want to do this, do this. If you don't want to do this, do this. And it really makes it a lot easier to visualize your business process automation end to end. So from that perspective, this is really driving a lot of the automated capability inside of ServiceNow. Additionally, how it can interact with various other tertiary platforms. So when we think of how we're attributing this to IT operations, like your engineers shouldn't be doing ticket routing. They shouldn't be chasing notifications. We should be building automated flows to alleviate all of these bottlenecks, right? So where a ticket comes in and it should go look at the CI and what service it's tied to. And maybe that drives routing and it gets automatically routed in critical assignment and priority. And all of this is already done so that it gets routed to the right team, routed to the right person. If you needed to run it through a third-party system to do some additional enhanced automation against some said CI, like maybe you wanted to scan it with some sort of a Splunk integration or do some security monitoring and have that route back. All of those things can be done with Flow Designer. And you could even do even more custom things with custom action design. And that's another capability that you have. You can build your own actions to do really cool stuff. In addition to that, ServiceNow's enhanced AI platform, which is another subscription level on top of something like ITSM Pro, also gives you additional actions to not only integrate into your business applications, but you can also integrate into your cloud-based LLMs, right? So say you wanted to run something through Claude, which has a skill which can go talk to another platform in your own cloud. You can trigger all of that information all through Flow Designer. So this enables you to do some really, really complex automations and have it touch many, many different areas of your business, all through a centralized intake mechanism. Hope that answers the question. I know I get long-winded when it comes to automation because it's my passion.
I would think that it did.
Okay, so we've kind of talked about the employee experience. We kind of talked about the analyst experience. We kind of talked about how you can trigger automations from your tickets or services or tertiary systems. But I want to kind of touch on leadership, right? Dashboards, reporting, all of those fun things. So performance analytics has kind of gone leaps and bounds. It's gotten a lot better over time. And it used to be really not a very good experience, but it has gotten better, specific to how you can set these reports up. And it gives you a lot of different functionality with regard to how you can surface information to your end users. Let me get incident. Actually, let me get the incident overview dashboard up here. Sorry, I had this all up and I think I just lost the link to it. There we go. That's what I was looking for. So ServiceNow, just by nature of you having the product, gives you access to a multitude of different dashboards and reports and natural language query functionality that allows end users who really don't have any kind of understanding of the tool and how to get reporting, gives them the capability to create reports on the fly. But the power comes in with an enhanced version of this, which is called performance analytics, where you can really dive in and create your own analytics in order to drive some of your own individual KPIs across the business. And it helps you drive that by surfacing this information up to people in leadership, right? Like, hey, why don't we just create them a dashboard and they have access to it right there at the fingertips? Or create a scheduled report that goes out to them and does X, Y, and Z thing. In the past, it was extremely hard to get all of this set up and operational, but ServiceNow has made it a lot easier with not only leveraging AI, but can also do things like, hey, I need you to create this report and have it generate just a surfaced report on the fly, just using natural language, which is pretty cool. So this is something called the incident overview dashboard. And it's something that you get with performance analytics, and it's just something available to you, right? So you can see that it surfaces a lot of various data right at your fingertips. And not only can you get up-to-date information, you can get historical data. So all of that is just pre-built for you. And you also have the capability to create all of this custom if you want it, right? If you have deep understanding of reports and how those interactions happen across different table structures, people can have created some really cool dashboarding for their organizations. And I've also tied this into even front ends of custom built portals that they've done and have just interacted with the reporting engine on the back end through by nature of just APIs. So it's really easy to surface all of this data up to leadership. Same thing with change overview, right? Like you can surface all of your changes up to your org. And again, this is a demo environment, so I don't have exactly all of the data. And if you're looking at my data, I've got a lot of changes that I need to get done. But you can see that there's a lot of different types of reports. There's bar graphs and trend lines. And I think they offer like 36 different types of reporting widgets that you have available to you. So it gives you a lot of flexibility with how you want to present data and service data to your leadership. And the ability to create reports on the fly is something that's pretty cool too. Let's see. So view run. Actually, you know what? Let's just create a new. If my demo environment will. Demo environment. There we go. Now let's see. It is a demo. So with all demos, when you try to do something like this live, we'll see how it goes. But I just asked it, can you show me all incidents by category for this year? And it just spun this up. So I could use this just as a report, or I can ask it and clarify data. So it just did that on the fly without me having to understand exactly what is inside of this tool, which is pretty powerful. And you can see how people who don't necessarily have a fundamental understanding of the relational engine of ServiceNow, how it helps them drive and create reporting that they can then show maybe their manager or maybe their division head or department leader. So another area that I want to get into is another area I see a lot of people who have established ServiceNow environments starting to explore. And that is where things are going with the CMDB. Maybe you've heard of, and how organizations are trying to understand what services they provide, how those are directly impacted by events going on in the environment. So I just wanted to showcase how and event management and service mapping, how all of those tools that ServiceNow can provide you can give you deeper insights into what's going on in your environment. So I'm going to take you to something that is called it's the CMDB workspace. And this is effectively a way that you can visualize the services that you provide and also understand what's going on from a asset and CI perspective. Maybe how healthy or unhealthy those assets or CIs are, how that translates into information that's going on in the environment. This is broken down by our core service, SAP Enterprise. And we can see all the various layers that SAP has access to and all the different services that it provides. But underneath that, what all gets routed to the underlying infrastructure of those different service CI assets, right? So we can see our SAP load balancers in there. We can see both of them and how those are directly related to all of our web servers and our underlying load balancing servers. And even how, if bond trading went down for SAP, then we'd have a big issue with payroll, right? But you can see here that some of these are not healthy, right? Because we have an issue with our load balancer. So it's automatically detecting that, hey, these services can have an issue because of one of these downstream things. And we can see what that downstream pathing looks like. And if you add in things like event management and you tie that into Logic Monitor or Splunk or another tool and have all of those events and alerts. Now, I don't have this tied into a Logic Monitor or Splunk environment because I don't have that in my demo environment. But in the environments where I have seen this deployed, you get event correlation and information that is all driven to what is going on with that particular CI. And all of this is visible to you, not only in this workspace, but if you had like a NOC dashboard or a enterprise infrastructure dashboard, you can surface these health metrics all the way up to that dashboard and you get live detailed information of how healthy or unhealthy that service is. Now, if we come back to the analyst perspective, how awesome would that be for them to be able to look at a CI that comes in? They might not necessarily be on the infrastructure team, but how cool would it be to be able to look at that CI, open that CI in a dependency map, and then they can see the state live of whether that service is healthy, unhealthy, what the downstream impact is, all from here. So if they were on the phone with a caller, they now have direct information as to, hey, we're actually seeing an influx of events going from A to B, and we're seeing that this service is degraded. Or maybe they need to send out a announcement or trigger a change. And that would take us to change management, right? Where we need to execute on a particular change. And we need to see what that impact is, what that scope is across multiple different areas. And ServiceNow can surface all of this information up to, right? We can, maybe we need to do a risk evaluation against, hey, what is the risk of that particular change against what we're doing? Is it going to impact other changes? Is there the same changes for a particular window? All of this information right at the analyst's fingertips. So being just an ITSM platform is not what ServiceNow is anymore. It was what they were once known for in the past, but it's gone far beyond that. And now you can do your ITSM workloads, your infrastructure workloads, your security workloads, HRSD workloads. I've seen facilities in legal and field service management. They are in every single facet of your organization, and you can unify it all under one single platform. And that's the power of ServiceNow. So we've kind of talked about some of the AI capabilities with Now Assist and summarization and automatically generating resolution contexts. So if we needed to, we could resolve this particular incident. And if we wanted, it can automatically copy resolution notes straight to the incident. Let's say we figured out everything. This is AI taking everything that is in this ticket, distilling it into what we fixed, and then putting it out. One big piece of the feedback that I've always gotten from IT orgs is nobody fills out resolution notes. So it's hard to understand what's really going on. This helps with that. And here you can directly resolve it in seconds, which is fantastic. So imagine if you had to read through all those work notes and you came back to it days or weeks later and you didn't have any idea of what was actually resolved on that. This distills it. And all you have to do is just do a resolution code and hit go. So one of the things that ServiceNow has deployed in mass, especially this year, is their AI capabilities. So let's take a look. Well, how am I doing on time? Okay, we got 15 minutes. All right, we can do this in 5. There are a bunch of new things that have come out with ServiceNow, and it all starts with this, the AI control tower. And from here, I can see everything in my environment that is deployed from an AI perspective, right? I can see what AI assets I have in place. I can see what AI systems I have out there. I can see what LLMs are deployed. I can see what inside of even our cloud-based architectures, what LLMs are deployed. You can get all of this information inside of a centralized area. And in this instance, we already have 2,000 active AI configurations across all the different modules that I have deployed in this demo instance. And you can also bring your own LLM, right? So ServiceNow has their own, but if you're using Azure or OpenAI or Bedrock with Claude or Google with Gemini, you can tap into those resources as well and do even greater things. In addition to that, ServiceNow is also pulling a lot of AI agentic frameworks now that are directly related to being able to spin up AI agents as help desk people. And a lot, I will say this, that it is in its infancy right now, but that's where I see things going, right? Is instead of your first line of defense, maybe being a chatbot, maybe that becomes a help desk person. And it is an AI agent versus a structured virtual assistant conversation, right? Or an AI-driven hallucinated response framework, right? The agentic nature of ServiceNow is moving in such a way where they are trying to front end a lot of the interactions. So that way you can abstract the real people from the mix of having to interact with end users and having them focus on things that matter and can financially impact the org, either by saving costs or saving time, because that's all what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to buy back time by deploying things like automations, AI, agentic workloads. All of that is becoming possible with what ServiceNow is making investments in the arenas of AI. One thing I will say is that from a licensing perspective, a lot of this AI information that I've shown today is enhanced licensing on top of an already existing license base, right? So most of the agentic frameworks come with ITSM Pro that gives you, virtual agent, but it doesn't give you Now Assist, and it doesn't give you a lot of the AI control tower. It doesn't give you the ability to bring in some of your other stuff. That comes with a Pro Plus subscription. And they've also changed it where now you can actually buy it per seat. Before, you used to have to buy it based on a particular license scheme, but now you can actually get it per seat. So depending on how many analysts you have, they're going to be actively working with some of this stuff, you can pay for it by seat, which is pretty cool. And they also offer an AI starter pack because a lot of these are deployed and licensed by like, hey, how many assists has this happened? Or how many assists has this agent done? Or how many assists has Now Assist done? It's more like Flow Designer in the fact where every interactions of Flow Designer counts against X amount of total. So you have to keep that in mind. So out of everything that I've shown you today, it primarily speaks back to an employee has a problem, right? The platform, let me get this back, and I have to go all the way down because you are going here. Oh, go back. So here's what we're talking about. There we go. An employee has an issue, it gets routed, and an analyst has to triage that issue, or if it's a service degradation, or if it's a customer interaction, they have to triage it, solve it. And how can we make that transition as seamless as possible, right? By consolidating and reducing your tertiary tool sets into one centralized single platform, leverage automation and its integrations to those tertiary tools to pull back the workloads that you want to automate. Always start with the highest impact, most financially impacting services and automations to drive down time, because time equals money. And if you have the means and want to explore starting to leverage AI and its automated capabilities to start driving some of these interactions with not only your backend systems, but how your analysts interact with your end users. So how can we help? Concurrency is not only a ServiceNow partner, but we are also well established in the Microsoft space. So we have bridge capabilities across not only ServiceNow, but also Microsoft. So, and also integrations into a lot of other different platforms like Splunk and Logic Monitor and Azure and Google and AWS and HRSD systems on the ServiceNow side. But where we help is we can do a lot of different things. What we also do is things like platform assessments, right? We can come in and take a look at your environment. Have you had a partner come in and do a deployment and it's not meeting your needs? We can assess and try to help you figure out why it's not meeting your needs. What happened in the environment? Our tooling and proprietary reporting pulls back all that information. It helps us understand what customizations have been made. Are you out of box anymore? Do you have upgrade risk? How much custom sprawl do you have? Do you guys have a roadmap for your environment? What are you using? What aren't you using? A big problem with ServiceNow customers is they're not leveraging what they've purchased. Do you know what you purchased? Do you know what you're leveraging? We can help. Doing implementations or optimizations. We operate in 10 different modules inside of ServiceNow. Do we have a module that you're looking to deploy or optimize or automate? We do managed services. So if you have a support gap or a technical resource has left, leaving you operationally risk high, we can help. We can come in, we can do managed services, we can support you in that transition or manage your environment for you. Suffice to say, we can help. If you have a problem, it is more than likely that we have a solution for you. And myself and my team are eager to help. So let us know. Let us show you what we can do for your customers and your org. Thank you, everybody, for your time.
Thank you, Bryan. Thank you, Bryan. Well, hopefully everyone saw the value in understanding, extending the ServiceNow platform. It's so powerful. There's so much you can do with that, and being able to, take that into areas that maybe some of you hadn't thought about, hadn't seen before, realize that, that it integrates so well into so many other areas of the business.